I make you watch the video where they pay the monkeys differently. Have you ever seen that one?
Oh, and they start throwing the reward.
He gives one monkey,
Yeah.
they do the same task, one gets a cucumber, one gets a grape, and the one getting the cucumber is like, what the fuck? Cucumbers suck. I'm doing the exact same shit as that fucking monkey. Why is he being rewarded and I'm being punished? So it's an instinctual fucking thing in animals. And then you go, hey, it's okay for these guys to shit on you and your race and everything about your culture, but if you do the same thing to them, we're going to ban you and you're removed from society. And it drives people fucking nuts. They're the monkey with the cucumber going like, I'm going to fucking, fuck those guys, and now I'm even more racist than I ever was.
Yeah.
You do have to make the rules fair because like it just drives people up a fucking wall. I think this is what happened to Scott Adams. He goes, it's not fair. So now I'm going to say all blacks are a hate group and all white people need to move away from it. And you're like, just make Dilbert cartoons. All you have to do is make Dilbert cartoons.
To be fair, the Scott Adams guy's been going crazy for fucking years.
Yeah,
That
but this is
pro-
part
See
of
what
what's
that young
driving him
pussy
crazy.
did to him? Messed up his brain, man.
But she just left him.
Yeah, and that's why.
So that might have
that's
been
why
what
he's
triggered
even
this.
More unhinged.
Allegedly,
Yeah.
she just left him.
Probably
Also,
probably for a black guy.
she has like 1.4 million followers on Instagram, and her likes are pretty trash. So I'm just saying, maybe she did him a favor by peacing out.
But it takes people like Scott Adams, who I want to say was probably a reasonable, intelligent guy, but it just drives them fucking nuts. And they start saying shit that they shouldn't be saying, and they know is wrong. Black people are not a hate group because you read a poll incorrectly that said they don't understand the phrase "it's okay to be white."
Okay, hypothetically, if it was true that 50% of black people said that they didn't want to be around
All
white
black people
or hate-
everywhere?
like if that was actually true, then I think that maybe he would have kind of a point. It's just that like my lived experience is that a very, very, very small percentage of black people ever express any kind of anti-white sentiment.
If the poll was, is it okay to line white people up against the wall and put a bullet in their head, and 99% of black people said, yeah, let's do it, I would understand Scott Adams going, hey, I kind of got a problem with this. Okay, if that was not the poll.
That's a hell of a poll.
That's what everybody is treating it as, though. And they're like, well, did you see the poll? Black people said that. I'm like, that's not what they were saying.
We have to get this weird fucking world too, where like left-leaning people are like trying to reinvent like segregation and shit. Where it's like we need black-only spaces in schools,
Black
we
college,
need non-white spaces, and
dorms.
yeah, it's really, really, really fucking weird.
But
like,
I realize how deep into the culture wars I am when like I was having a conversation with two of the guys on my channel, AD and T-Rel, who I would consider like not politically obsessed. And I said something about how it is considered politically acceptable to say negative things about white people in a way that it's not okay to say the same things about a lot of any other race. And they both looked at me like I was fucking out of my mind. Like they had no fucking clue what I was referring to because they're not like looking for these exceptions to the rule or whatever. So I was kind of like, okay, but also like what I'm going to include into that is something like what's that fucking Scooby-Doo spinoff that just came out that I didn't watch, but I watched your fucking video about it, which is why it's at the top of my mind right now. But it's like I'm watching that, and it's like kind of amazing how many jokes about white people you're able to like cut together.
Like immediately.
it's crazy.
Yeah, it's pretty in your face if you're looking for it, right?
And part of the problem is I'm like, well, this is like lazy. It's not even funny. Like, why do you feel you have to do this? Like, this is the current cultural zeitgeist. Is like, hey, we're allowed to say shit about white people. It's like, yeah, but do you want to? What is the benefit?
So you're able to like mix and mingle in these spaces. Do you hear a lot of anti-white sentiment that we should know about?
No, since moving to LA, I pretty much just hear a lot of anti-people of color sentiment.
What?
What?
You hanging out with a bunch of Nazis or what?
Wow.
Just in the social media scene, like I hear a lot of benign racism.
Really?
Towards any groups in particular? Hispanics, blacks?
Any groups that we would know of?
Wait,
That we might
any
join?
really funny jokes that we could repeat later?
Dick, you're
on?
Hispanic.
I
You
could
get,
add them to my routine.
you know, do you experience a lot of hatred?
No,
in
because
LA?
I look white. I mean, I can't even.
white
I
passing.
was told by Harvard grads that I'm not allowed to even talk, white Harvard grads, that I'm not even allowed to talk about Mexicanness or racism because I'm white passing. I was like, all right,
Really?
I'm done with this conversation.
See, I think as soon as you start having the white passing conversation, that it kind of becomes obvious that maybe this isn't what we want to like devote the entirety of our lived experience to.
Yeah,
Figuring
it's-
out what racial buckets to put people
Did
into.
you ever
It's become so dumb. The conversations we have to have about race and stifle the segregation as exactly like you're saying. It's the desired outcome. All this insanity we have to constantly entertain, including the very basic polar opposites of racism, of anti-black racism, which is all power. Systemic based oppressive power struggles, like oppressive power structures, versus anti-Semitic racism, which is the definition of those power structures. So you have to constantly not be both. Like you can't say a racism is culture based, and you can't say a positive racism is oppressive structure based. And it's just like fucking mind numbing because you're like, I don't care. I want to live in the middle with everyone else. I don't want to have to deal with this shit.
You want to hate the blacks and the Jews equally.
One of my favorite.
Is that so wrong?
He's joking, guys. He's just joking.
One of my favorite mini arcs
I'm
on my
just saying
stream
they're
is,
totally
the
incompatible ideas.
No, yeah, for sure. There's a guy on my stream that comes up pretty often called Dan, and he's Jewish. And I make sometimes in chat, I fuck around with it. I make a lot of anti-Jewish jokes, and people try to hit me with like, I don't really think it's cool to do like the anti-Semitic thing. And it's like, well, racism is like power plus prejudice, and Jews have all the power right now, so I figure I can't be racist towards Jews, right?
And it is kind of hard to figure out what you say in response to that, besides that you're just like treating the Jews unfair, or you're just being anti-Semitic by acting as if the Jews are in power. Even just saying that is enough for you to be anti-Semitic in a lot of people's books, right?
Yeah.
That's a weird world to, I think there's very good academic ways to engage with really complicated and nuanced conversations about like racism and everything. And I think it's good to look at power structures and to analyze it and everything. But sometimes I always do this in debates when I'm having a conversation with somebody. Sometimes like, okay, hold on, let's take a step back. Like really far back in the macro level, like what the fuck are we arguing for right now? Because sometimes when you take a step back from a conversation, you're like, okay, well, what am I actually arguing for? You realize like I think something is getting fucked up right now because like I'm in a conversation where I'm arguing that it's okay to be racist against a certain group of people because maybe their ancestors did something bad. Like when you back up and you macro analyze things, I think you start to see like, okay, this is fucked. Like let's like refocus, because you can use academic definitions to get almost anywhere in a conversation, and it gets really, really weird at some point in time.
What was going through your head when Lex Friedman was grilling you about saying?
I just thought it was such a dumb conversation.
I was like,
You're supposed to say it was a
well, you were kind of like not engaging and just sort of like, okay, that's your opinion. All right. Like, but it was really hard to listen
There's
to.
something I've had to, this is such a hard thing for me to wrestle with. And I'm sure you guys have all of you have thought about this, is like, there's a certain amount of, I need to engage with the culture. And there's a certain amount of like, I want to change the culture. And you have to find a happy medium between the two. So like,
It's the hill you're going to die on.
well, I mean, I can't say, I don't even know what I can say here. There's a lot of stuff I can't say anymore. So yeah, which hill are you gonna do? I would drop.
I won't.
But it's
I can't think of a good reason to.
I'm a Massachusetts
just not
boy.
a
It is our
place it
sacred
with.
word
Where
in
at?
Massachusetts.
Where?
I lived in Western Mass and then most of my life, and then Boston for a bit.
I'm from New Hampshire, so
Oh,
kindred spirits.
so you're wicked at it as
Yeah,
well.
Wicked.
That's
That's how
wicked
I grew
with
up.
that.
I grew up wicked gay.
Yeah. Dude, you're wicked
queer.
gay right now. Stop it.
Wicked
So
fucking queer.
gay. Yeah. They can't take those words from us.
I
Those
know,
that's
they're
Boston
gone.
strong, man.
Yeah.
Those bombers came in, and you're gonna take our words away as well. Anyway,
We're definitely like the last ones fighting for it for sure.
yeah, I worry about that too, because you don't want to be like. Did anyone hear of like a grandma or grandpa that would still call? They weren't racist, but they would call black people like colored people.
sure.
Yeah.
I had a grandma that would say that. I was like, Grandma, you probably shouldn't. Well, I was too young. I didn't even know. I was like,
Yeah.
You probably shouldn't say that. She didn't mean anything about it. I wonder sometimes if that's like going to be us. Like our kids will look at us and be like, Dad,
But when I was
retarded
a
is just
kid,
not cool.
Our
Maybe
kids are
don't-
gonna be too busy cutting off all their body parts to worry
Yeah.
about what words we're
Jesus
saying.
but I think
Christ.
I remember my grandma saying colored and not even thinking it was offensive in any way, because I'm pretty sure in like the 80s it wasn't considered offensive.
It was
yet.
getting there. I don't know exactly when it turned around.
Well, because there's the NAACP, like they were owning it, like that was official shit.
I think 70s you started not being supposed to say colored.
I mean, it's fair. It sounds kind of old school for sure.
Yeah.
Yo, we just hit 400,000 subscribers right here on the Clips channel. So if you want to help us out, click subscribe, get us to 500K. Yeah.